on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live.
Baltimore, we coming home, baby. We did it.
Today on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live.
Michael lob down the middle. Caught. Bolden. Touchdown. Ravens. Touchdown. Ravens. Dennis Pitta on the receiving end. Flacco in the shotgun. Steps up in the pocket. Throwing deep. He's got Jacoby Jones open at the 10. Jones makes the catch. He's not touched. Bounces up. Touchdown. Ravens. He could go all the way. Jacoby Jones. 108 yards. Ray Lewis stares across the line. Colin Kaepernick. Lewis comes on a blitz. Kaepernick lob to the end zone. Incomplete. Ray Lewis and the defense deliver. 3 seconds left. 2. Time has expired. And the hay's in the barn. The Baltimore Ravens are Super Bowl champions.
On 99.3 Talk FM, it's Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live.
Touchdown, Ravens.
Here's Bryan Houston.
Can I just say that when I listen to that, it makes me thank God for Brad Sham? Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, wait a minute. If Brad Sham, if our Dallas Cowboys were playing in the Super Bowl and won it last night, Brad would have the same reaction.
No, I mean, I heard him do those games when they won the Super Bowl, and he sounded like a pro. That guy sounded like he was on the Ravens payroll. Of course, Brad's on Ravens Cowboys payroll too, I guess. But you're right. Okay, never mind.
No, I'm not. Come on.
All right, we're going to go. I'm really glad this guy's here because I was afraid we weren't going to get a chance to talk to him because God knows I want to, have it rubbed in my nose that I lost the Super Bowl bet right now. With us right now on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com. The results show when the athletes hit the field. With us from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and DFWOT, the author of the Big Mac blog and the computer trainer of the week, it is Mac Engel. How you doing, Mac?
I'm good, and I cannot wait for a little free meal. I had to drive 90 miles for it and kill the freeness of paying for the gas, but it doesn't matter. I cannot wait to rub your nose in a free meal at the Old Country Tavern. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready. Hey, you can rub my nose and those kind of ribs anytime you want to. I'm just letting you know, okay?
Good, okay.
I got no problem with that. And I did everything I could to try to swing things. I was the one responsible for the power outage last night. But
Did you? Good job, well done. I have never seen so much given to a power outage. Like, if I knew my life, if I was if I'm the equivalent of the San Francisco 49ers, I would turn the lights on my life all the time if I knew I was going to respond that way.
No kidding. That's a good way to do it. Just play in the dark.
Yeah, right. No kidding. I'm like, I'm having a bad day. I'm going to turn off the lights and then turn them back on and say, oh, wow, what an incredible afternoon I'm having now.
I've just been energized. It's amazing. Yes, it's incredible. What'd you make of the game?
Loved it. Loved everything about it. I thought it was the NFL pretty much at its very best. I really mean that. I know I especially have a tendency to look at the worst of things, but I thought the game was really exciting. I thought obviously huge plays, the Jacoby Jones catch, the Jacoby Jones 500-yard kickoff return, controversy. The halftime show was amazing. I thought Beyonce was incredible. I've watched that in fact, I've watched that no less than 10 times.
Okay,
I thought the only thing, the comeback was great. The power outage added some interest and some intrigue. I think the only thing, there were two things that if I had to really nitpick is that I think we've been kind of spoiled at the level of quality that these ad companies produce on these commercials, and I thought maybe the commercials last night weren't quite up to the level that we've seen in the past. And I thought right after the incomplete pass from Colin Kaepernick fell incomplete to Michael Crabtree, the game just sort of plopped. You had all this buildup into that last minute, and then you had another minute to go, and then it just sort of totally died, and the suspense just sort of kept playing out and playing out and playing out. When if it had just ended on that play, which is basically what it did, it would be like, oh, that was great. Instead, we get stuck with another 40 seconds that played out over 5 minutes. I was like, okay, come on, let's go. But other than that, I mean, I'm really nitpicking. I thought it was a great game and a great way for the NFL season to end.
So you're not real fired up about watching a punter run sideline to sideline?
Yeah, it was that. I'm like, really? This is what this Super Bowl is going to come down to, a punter running around trying to kill the clock? But, that's what the game was. It wasn't like Harbaugh wasn't coaching to win it, or he was coaching, to entertain us. It was a great game. I really thought it was a great game. I wish I'd been there. And if I'm an NFL executive, if I'm Roger Goodell, I would say that was, other than that power outage, which even like I said, I thought that even that kind of added to the level of intrigue of the game and certainly made it memorable. I thought it was great.
I'm glad they did it this way, but how did you feel about the officiating last night?
I think officiating sucks. I think anybody who has ever officiated will tell you it is an impossible no-win job. I don't like watching officials dictate the outcome of a game. And when I watched that game last night, and specifically that one play in the end zone where Crabtree clearly was held, my first thought was that Miami-Ohio State, I think, Fiesta Bowl game several years ago where it was really close.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I think that play last night was pretty close. If it's a regular season game, it might get called, but it's so late. And I think the officials, I would guess, have some sort of unwritten code that they just don't want to be, they don't want to get into it, and they let them play. And I would much rather see guys who are if they let them play than the officials over interfere with the game. And you know, the argument to that, Brian, is, well, if it's a foul, if it's a penalty with 2 minutes to go in the first quarter,
right,
then it should be a penalty with, you know, a minute to go in the fourth quarter. And I understand that's impeccable reasoning. I personally would just much rather see them let them go and let them have let them have at it.
They let them play.
Well, they did, and I would. For me, that was fine. I was okay with it, but I can certainly see why Jim Harbaugh lost his mind. I thought he kind of embarrassed himself a little bit by the way he acted after the game. I was, you know...
He wouldn't even hug his brother. I mean, what was that about?
And I know he was mad and he was emotional, but, dude, you know, don't play. You're not Bill Belichick yet. There's no reason to do that. They got beat. And yeah, should they have won? Yeah, they probably should have, but it's not like they lost to a bad team. A really good team played another really good team, and a really good team won.
Well, you know, he's got only himself to kick for that, because the last time I checked, they were down 28-6 at one point, and his team looked awful in the first half.
Yeah, they were terrible, and you knew it was only a matter of time when you're playing a quarterback that young, that a guy had only played 8 or 10 games in his professional career, then he was going to screw up. I mean, it was inevitable. It was totally inevitable that it was going to happen. I was sure it was going to happen against the Packers. It didn't. I was even doubly sure that it was going to happen in Atlanta against the Falcons. It didn't. It finally did against the Ravens. And the reason they lost, a couple of those turnovers killed them, and Joe Flacco was perfect.
He was great. He was great. I will say this. I absolutely hated the 4 plays that the 49ers ran when they were down on the goal line inside 2 minutes to go. You know, they had that first and goal at the 5, and they were running rollouts and bunching everybody up. And I'm going, why don't you let Kaepernick, you know, win this ball game? You know, let him try to run the football. But they were rolling out and, you know, just bunching all these people on the half of the field and taking the other half completely out. And I'm thinking, spread them out and let him have a chance to get in some space. And I just thought that I thought Harbaugh didn't do a really good job there.
I couldn't agree with you more. If I had to go back and nitpick things, it would be those 4 play calls. Now, I know on one of those plays, it was the play where they called the timeout. You could see they snapped it, and he was running. Kaepernick was running, so you know that play was a run. I just don't understand why they didn't try it again. I mean, I agree with you. You've got the best running quarterback in the NFL. And if you look at statistically, the Ravens couldn't stop him.
Mm-mm.
Gore had over 100 yards. The team's yard per rush was obscene. The Ravens couldn't stop them. So why don't you try? You had timeouts. You had plenty of time. Even if you didn't have all of your timeouts, why didn't you do that? I don't understand, and I don't think there's any good explanation for it. I think it was just a total brain fart on the part of Jim Harbaugh and the offensive coordinator.
I did talk to Thomas Everett, who played on the Cowboys' 2 championship teams, the first 2 that Jimmy won back in the early 90s, and he was talking about, you know, how already defensive coordinators are beginning to figure out what they can do to slow down the pistol and the read option, because they said they had a guy hitting Kaepernick on every play, and Kaepernick was handing it off. He was not going to run.
They'll figure it out. And I think that's one of the biggest differences where you see and why you see these quarterbacks who've run so well in college struggle to do it in the pros. The best athletes usually in the NFL are on the defensive side of the ball, and the best athletes in college generally are on the offensive side of the ball, generally. Now, the SEC, it's usually on defense too.
Yeah.
But I would say that is routinely one of the biggest changes is that you've got a great athlete like Kaepernick trying to outrun other great athletes on the defensive side, and he's that good. I mean, the thing that was so amazing about that Packers game was that he was running away from those guys. The same thing in Atlanta. He was running away from defenders, and I can't remember seeing a quarterback having that kind of just vertical straightaway speed. Looked like a wide receiver. And then if you watch him throw the ball, he throws a rope. It's just he's tall. You watch him play, and you're just like, how the hell did everybody miss on this guy? But, they did, so who cares? I mean, good move on the part of the 49ers, but I think, Thomas Everett knows what he's talking about, because historically, you will see this. They will figure you out. And then the question is, what can you do? What can Colin Kaepernick do after they figure you out? And that's what you see. And it's the same thing with baseball. It's the same with all of them. Once they figure you out, your tendencies and your vulnerabilities, what do you do to improve yourself, to complement your strengths, and to take away their adjustments?
Exactly.
So we haven't seen him. He hasn't been forced to do that, but he will next year.
Oh, absolutely. You can count on it. All right. When the lights went out, Baltimore led 28-6. If the lights hadn't gone out, how bad would this thing have gotten?
I think it would have come around regardless.
Seriously?
I do. I don't think that. I think the lights thing made it for a great story. But if you look at what the 49ers did against the Falcons, and they did it on the road. The 49ers are really good. They had this in them. And the NFL teams really don't blow each other out that much. The teams are just too close. So I kept thinking they're going to get on a run. They're going to even this thing out. No, I didn't think they would do what they did, but I certainly thought they were going to make it a game. And eventually I do believe if you put yourself in that much of a hole, it just puts too much pressure on your team to be perfect the whole way. And you can do it for a while, but if you can't hold it up the whole way, you cannot come back. And I think that's inevitably what happened to San Francisco last night.
Mac Engel from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM. You mentioned halftime, so you like Beyonce.
Yes, I am a Beyonce fan. I can't really say I would have minded had she lip-synced that song. In fact, I got to tell you, Brian, I wouldn't even have my feelings hurt had she not sung at all.
You just wanted her just to be there, right?
Yeah, I was fine. She just sat there and read the phone book in that outfit and danced around. I would have been okay with that too.
Well, okay, all right, fair enough. The only thing I can say about it is, and I'm an old fart, so it's like it was like okay, it's okay, but do they really need 200 people on the stage? Do they really need that many people on the stage?
I don't know. It's kind of weird how I think that the concerts that I've seen is that there's a different level of concerts where you get guys, you get musicians, and then you get performers.
Yeah.
And I would say Beyonce falls into that sort of tweener category where she's talented enough where if you put her in a production studio and just say, here, go sing the national anthem.
Oh, yeah.
Like she did for that media day, the press conference there in New Orleans. She can do it. She's just that talented. She's got the chops to pull it off.
Yeah.
And then you said, okay, now we're going to put you with pyrotechnics and monsters and midgets and dinosaurs and a light show and roller skates, and you're going to wear nothing and flop all around and shake your butt and all that good stuff. Do that too. She can do that. It's kind of like Broadway for dummies. I'm all right with it.
Okay.
The reason I'm all right with it is one time several years ago, I went to a Britney Spears show, and you knew she was not singing, but she had animals, and she did have like midgets. And
it was the circus.
It wasn't. It's what it was called. It was called her circus tour.
Good.
And it was total Broadway for dummies. I was like, yeah, okay, this is kind of fun. I think the reason I like Beyonce is that she can really genuinely actually sing, and if you put her on the same stage as Aretha Franklin or whomever else of those great voices, she could go toe to toe with them. She just so happens to be a really good performer. I thought it was fun. I mean, do they have to have it? No, but hell.
Hey.
But if you, like I said, if you just say, hey, just look at it, I'm like, okay, I'll do that too. You want to put flames behind her? All right, I'm fine with that. But I'm telling you, she looked so good last night, jumping around like that. Nothing was going to distract me away from her.
This is true. I totally understand that. All right, now who's next? Who do they get next year?
I don't know. That's a great question. Who can you? They've had a really good run of, classic. The one that was a total dud was The Who, but Tom Petty was good, Madonna was good, Prince was great.
Yep.
Bruce Springsteen was good. Shania Twain sucked. She totally mailed it in. I don't know. That's a really good question. Maybe Maroon 5. The problem is they've had the Rolling Stones.
They've done it. This is the one we threw out because we were watching the promo for the Grammys for next week.
Yeah.
And who's opening for the Grammys next? Usually they pull out a big gun to open the show.
Who they get?
Taylor Swift.
See, I don't want any of those reality TV stars. I know Taylor Swift is now dating people just to break up with them so she'll have new material. I've had it with her. I know she's talented and all that stuff, but I'm like, nah, she does nothing for me. I just don't want to see any of those American Idol people. And the problem is next year it's on Fox. So they're going to have, why don't we throw in Kelly Clarkson and Ruben Studdard and all these other great people and just basically make it an American Idol rerun.
Wow.
I hope they don't do that. I'm always a big fan. Like, for me, they'll never do it. They would never do it if they got Roger Waters.
Ooh,
and
little Pink Floyd, huh?
Yeah, and then David Gilmour on the same stage at the same time.
That would,
there you go.
or
Yeah,
Zeppelin.
That's what I want.
Pull
I want
Zeppelin
Roger,
out there.
Yep. Okay, that's who I want. I want Roger Waters and David Gilmour.
Pink Floyd, okay.
4 or 5 Pink Floyd songs, and yeah, that's what I want.
That's too weird for the crowd.
Totally, because the problem is, normally at the crowd they make it interactive. They're
yes.
Like, here, hold up this this sign, or here, hold up this colored cutout with a Pink Floyd tribute to her. Be like, here, drop this acid, or here, smoke this weed, take this bong hit, and it'll be just like the '70s wall tour.
God. All right. What of the commercials? You mentioned the commercials, and they were kind of a letdown. Was there anyone that blew you away at all?
I know everybody was loving on the Paul Harvey one, and that was kind of neat to hear his voice again. I like how it was such incredible, shameless pandering to the traditional right-wing conservative to go out and, truck, farmers, truck, America, Boy Scout, all that stuff. But it was a neat ad. It was well done. It was neat to hear Paul Harvey's voice again because obviously he's been dead since 2008 or 2009.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat. The Bar Raffaele ad, where she's making out with the geek, I thought it was pretty clever because the GoDaddy people obviously realized they had something that people were going to remember.
Oh, yeah.
And their whole thing has always been shock and shtick, so I thought that was pretty consistent. The Calvin Klein ad, I was a little insulted because I didn't get any royalties. It was my body double, and I have yet to be checked, but we'll do some, I'll do some background checking on that one.
Okay.
Seriously, I'm looking at that guy. I'm like, that guy wasn't even airbrushed.
That's
You know what I mean? Look at that body. Like,
that's
who had a
wrong.
body that's that hairless?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's impossible. I don't buy it. But I love there was one other one that I thought was
the Budweiser one with Clydesdale. The Clydesdale.
That was sweet.
Lassie
Yeah,
Come Home.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really sweet one with the Stevie Nicks song. I thought that was pretty.
How'd you like the Stevie Wonder ones with him doing the voodoo?
Oh, I thought that was funny. I got to tell you though, of all the things that I saw from the beginning of the game until the end, the thing that touched me the most, and I don't think anybody who saw it was not moved a little bit, was watching the kids from the Sandy Hook Elementary School.
Yes.
Background singing
Yes.
to Jennifer Hudson. And Jennifer Hudson's a wonderful performer, but there was a part of me that said, just let these kids sing because that was amazing. And it was such a sweet thing to see them, and it just totally pulled at your heart to see them and to know they probably have gone through hell and back to be there. And I was happy that they had a moment like that, and that was the best thing I saw throughout the entire game.
And they seemed to enjoy the moment too.
Yeah,
the kids had smiles. They were excited.
You hope that they did. You
Sure.
can't imagine how much what that's been like the last couple of months. But of all the things that I've seen, and really all the things that I've seen on TV the last while, that's something that was one of those things that I saw that just you couldn't not be moved by that. Those little kids, and it was just, God, it was heartbreaking to see in a way.
Oh, I know, but it was really a neat moment. I will tell you something. Get ready for this. You got a 3-year-old right now, right?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay. I got a 15-year-old who watched the game with me last night. I watched the game. He looks at his phone the entire game, and he just reads the tweets to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he finds all the entertaining tweets, and I'm annoyed because I'm trying to listen to the game and keep up, but at the same time I'm dying laughing at some of this stuff that's coming down too, because when it got to be 28-6, you're thinking, man, read me the tweets because this is going nowhere here, but the kid never looks up at the screen. I mean,
but that's the generation.
I know. I'm watch the game. He goes, and he's sitting there just up and down, So
no, and I'm telling I'm aware of it because that was me. I mean, I'm sitting there with my computer in front of me at 8 or 8:30, watching that game while I'm sitting there on Twitter and having a good time. And Twitter is a heck of a lot of fun because it's like being in a sports bar with, a trillion people. And that kind of it was fun, but that is the way I teach a college class at TCU, and I see it all the time. People, the phone thing has, it's totally revolutionized everything, and I don't think it's going to be before too long, if we haven't already. People are going to be watching games on phones.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm totally prepared for and fully expecting by the time my daughter is old enough, the phone will be attached to her, hand. So it'll just be Verizon will figure out a way to graft phones on a way to a person's hand. That's the next step.
You will not be able to pry it out of their cold, dead hand, I can tell you.
Exactly right.
Count on it. All right, so the one last thing, I mean, now that we've watched how a Super Bowl team is built and operates, obviously the hiring of Derek Dooley today as a wide receivers coach just puts the Cowboys over the top, right?
Yeah, well, wide receivers coach will really do it. I mean, I'm really excited. These position coaches they're all fine. Who cares? They're all interchangeable. If Jerry's going to be the GM, I wrote it for tomorrow. There's a few things that they can do because this is Jerry's wheelhouse. I mean, really, from about February 1 to August 31st, this is his time to shine.
He can do more destruction in these next few weeks than
but he can. I mean, he can bring a jackhammer to the best of them, but he can sell better than anybody. And this is the time to sell hope. And you and I both know it's crack pipe stupid, but the man's got charm like it's nobody's business. And he can deal hope and deal optimism, and because he believes it. He believes it so much, and the people who have belief can be tremendously convincing, regardless of how stupid they are or their track record. So I do believe that there are a handful of things that if the Cowboys address, they might be able to sell a little hope and optimism going into the season in 2013, and that starts with the draft. And believe it or not, I was looking back at this, the last couple of years, the Cowboys have really done well in the drafts. And if they can have another good one, then you got something.
Big if.
It's
huge if.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the century.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do believe this. I think Jason Garrett's got a year left. And what they can do with it, if they can stay healthy, which is ridiculous, they can't. That's why I think they need to buy all the deer antler spray they can find. But if they can stay healthy and they can keep their best players on the field, and I'm talking DeMarco Murray, Dez Bryant, Bruce Carter, Sean Lee, obviously Tony Romo, if they can keep those guys on the field through 14, 16 games, then they got a shot. Because I think everybody would agree if those guys had stayed healthy, then we would probably be looking at a playoff team. But they weren't, so they're not. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing they can do about that. But that is one thing. If for some reason those guys can stay healthy, that's a playoff team.
Hey.
Not a Super Bowl team, but it's a playoff team.
Maybe you can just shut the lights off, at halftime.
Right, that's right. There you go. Just turn the lights on, then everything gets better.
It's
right?
done. It's done.
It's done. Look, hey, look what I did. I want to believe that because I know how much it would be so much. You were here for it. It would be so much fun if that team was hot again. I mean, it's great. But, God, oh, God, it is depressing.
Yes, it is. Hey, let's eat some ribs.
There you go. I'm all for it.
Come on down. Anytime.
All right.
On me. I'm there. I'll pay my bet.
Good deal. All right, I'll do it.
Hey, Mac, good talking to you, buddy.
Brian, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, good.
Mac Engel from the Fort Worth Star Telegram, DFWOT on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM. John.